What's going on, guys? Coming to just give another review, and this is The Batman. We just watched The Batman, literally just now.
Yep, still in the parking lot.
First off, we just want to say what a spectacular job Robert Pattinson has done as being the Batman. Big shout out to Zoe. Big shout out to the Penguin, the Riddler, everybody that was basically in this movie. Big shout out to them. All right, Jeff, what is your core score for this movie?
Okay, so I think I'm gonna go along with what I've heard and say that this movie was top tier Batman. I don't think it's the greatest Batman movie we've seen, but I do think it's up there, and I'm gonna rank it. I'm gonna say 8.8 out of 10.
That's a good score.
8.8, maybe 8. It's right there by 9. I'm gonna just give it an 8.8 for now. Okay. I might have to watch it again.
I will say that Batman is one of my favorite DC heroes. My score for this movie, I'm going to probably rank this about...
Be honest.
I'm going to rate this about a 6.5.
Damn! What the hell?
I'm going to rate this a 6.57. I didn't like this movie.
What the hell? Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you guys at all. I really didn't like it. I'm going to say what I did like. I'm going to say what I didn't like.
I don't know if I can trust you after this.
What was your core score for this movie, RJ?
All right, my core score for the movie. Flat out core score, initial reaction, 9.2. I think it's the second greatest Batman movie. This is an initial reaction, so let me sleep on it. I could change my mind.
Right, exactly. So whenever you finish watching a movie, your score may be a little bit higher than your score after you sleeping on it. Yeah. So
this is initial.
This is a very initial
raw reaction.
So this may not be our same score when we wake up tomorrow morning.
Yeah, because I will say we've done this before, and we've missed things. We thought about it, and we were like, eh. And then some people have said it in the comments, and then I've gone back to the comments and commented on you guys' comments and said, you know what, I completely forgot about that. Yeah. Or I didn't even think about this, or you're right. So just take that into consideration. We still haven't really dwelled on it. We still haven't talked about it. We literally walked out of the movie theater and said, let's not talk about it till we get in the car. So,
yep, exactly.
So
right now we're just going to say what we liked and what we didn't like. Jeff's gonna go first, then I'll go, and then RJ will go last.
Let me start off by saying this movie is beautiful. This movie, the cinematography is just it's probably the most beautiful Batman movie we've seen. I mean, some of the scenes where they're just standing on top of a building, it's like, holy shit, I want that as my phone background. I said that a couple times, like the moment where Batman's walking slowly to the Penguin and the car's upside down.
That was fire.
I was like, shit.
That was fire. That was fire.
That needed a slow motion. You couldn't put that in regular speed. You needed that in slow motion. Like I said, just beautiful over around. I can't think of any part of the movie where I looked at it and didn't think, wow, this movie looks like not legit, just looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Another thing, and then I'll try to keep it short so that you guys can say some of the same stuff, some other stuff. But I love the cast in this movie. I loved the Penguin. He was amazing. He was fun. He was entertaining. He was evil. I'd love to see him come back. I loved Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Her body just looks, the way that she fought, the way that her body moved, screams Catwoman. It screamed Catwoman. The villain, what's his name? The Riddler. I think the Riddler was amazing. I think his voice was amazing. I think he was scary. He was intimidating. And then I thought Robert Pattinson did a pretty good job. I'll let you guys get into it a little bit more, so that y'all can say a little bit more what you guys think.
Some pros that I did like about this movie was that the way they showed this movie was a perfect example of how a DC movie should look like. It was very dark.
Your score better change after this. This don't sound like no 6.5. But continue.
The way it was so good. Even when it was daytime, it still looked dark. So that was perfect. I love that. And The Dark Knight, they had, so with Christian Bale, they had scenes with him being Batman during the day, and it didn't really show the DC-ness, the darkness. But the way they did it in this movie, it was perfect. I loved it. I enjoyed that. Like you said, Jeff, the cinematography was amazing. The slow motion, the shots, it was perfect. The Penguin, I felt like that was a perfect cast, like how you said. Like, he was great. I love seeing him. The Riddler. So I'm gonna go half on Riddler. I did like his mask. I did like how he was very sinister. I love that. I love the way he killed his victim, how he played around with them, how he was, just sneaking around, going inside their cars and just taking them. I love that. What I did not like was when you actually saw his actual face. I wasn't a fan of how he looked without his mask. I felt like...
That's how he looked.
I didn't like that part. I didn't like it. But with his mask and he was doing all of his crazy shit, that's what I did like.
Oh, man. I mean, it was a lot to like of this movie. It felt like, it had a lot of pressure, hype to live up to. New character. People tired of seeing a new Batman. But, man, the writing in this movie was incredible to me. Like, it captivated me. Like, there was at least 2 to 3 times where I got, like, my hair was standing on my skin because I'm like, what the... Like, I felt like a citizen of Gotham at some point. Like, we're all doomed. Like, it was... The Riddler, the writing was just so good, man. Like, it reminded me of the Batman games because the Batman games were some of the most thought-provoking, just insane writing in their games. And... I think that's what Batman has the best villains. The visual effects were amazing. I loved how he struggled at times, like when he tried to fly off the building. I love those moments because it was real. It was like, I was kind of worried about how they were, like, is this an origin story? Like, what were we going to expect? What were we going to see? But I like seeing him struggle. Like, he's still figuring things out. And I don't know, it was just like really realistic. Like, I felt everyone's pain in the movie. Everything else y'all pretty much said, like the visual effects, the cinematography, it was just amazing.
I want to add to it, I enjoyed the music.
Oh yeah,
the music in the movie. Yeah, I was like, damn, I wish this movie theater was fucking louder. I know. I wish if it was louder, I think that bass would have hit. Oh yeah. Like, oh shit, this is crazy. I love whoever wrote the score for this movie. Kudos. One part that I kept thinking about is I love how the movie stayed true to what was going on. I think a lot of times we see these superhero movies and they put in parts of things that don't matter or are not relevant to the story, and they kind of just want to put something in there just for, I don't know, for Easter eggs or for whatever reason. I think this movie stayed with the storyline. Like, it didn't stray away from the main topic, the main story, which was Batman. You saw Batman on the screen at least 95% of the time, and like you said, we saw him struggle. You saw him go through these things. You saw him, slowly. We solved the riddles with him. I mean, we really did.
Literally, the Riddler, he had a riddle, and I heard RJ say orphan. He solved one of the riddles, which was actually pretty cool to be a part of that scene.
I know when I'm a detective.
when he was saying it to the guy that was strapped with the bomb around his neck, and he was like, "What's I can't remember what the answer was, justice," and I was like, man, I would have died. I can't answer this damn question.
Yeah.
I didn't like, the one thing that I didn't like was that Batman, he knew the answer to the questions immediately.
Yeah, a little bit too quick.
And I was like, would you really have known it that quick? I really don't have that much bad things to say, so I'm gonna go ahead and slide this over to Tobi.
One thing I did like was how the Batman, he was on his detective shit. So like, there was little hints of the camera going back to the Batman, just him looking at stuff on the floor, him looking at the cops, seeing what they think, him talking to the commissioner. It was like he was playing a good detective role. I like that.
It felt like the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played the games, but it felt so much like the game.
It didn't feel all like a superhero movie. It felt like it was a crime thriller movie, and you were like you said, he was the investigator. investigating the crime with a superhero,
Right.
essentially.
Mm-hmm. That was like a crime scene that we were all trying to just figure out together. Let me start off with Zoe.
Oh my!
I liked how Zoe and the Bat worked together. I like that. How she wore the contacts, she infiltrated the club, she wanted to figure out who killed her friend.
I love that context, by the way.
Yeah. That shit was fire.
That was cool.
And I like the concept of it. Like, it records everything.
You see something on the paper, you're not gonna remember the details of it.
Up until that part where she decided to not work with the Batman anymore, I didn't really like her character. I feel like her character kind of just went downhill from there.
Okay.
Every time they showed the screen or they showed the camera right to the cat, I didn't. It just didn't interest me. The whole plot. I didn't like the whole finding the rat situation. I didn't like that. And there were so many people that were in cahoots and that were corrupt. I didn't like that. I like it kind of like simple, where it's just one person. The one person does all this fucked up shit, and they have to go for that one person. When other people are in cahoots and they're corrupt, and then this and that and this and that, I'm not a fan of that. So that's why I'm gonna rank it a little lower.
Okay.
That's kind of how Batman is. The Gotham City storyline is like, you can't really trust anybody in that city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only people you can trust are Gordon and Batman.
And everybody else. They pointed that out in the movie too.
Yeah.
Because Gordon's a good cop, so Gordon's the only person that he could trust.
Even in the other Batman movies, like, who was the guy who was Two-Face? He was essentially Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent started off as a good guy, and then he turned into Two-Face.
Gotham's White Knight. I think that's what they called him. Mm-hmm.
So most of his villains are people that he's cool with, and then eventually turn into villains later on in the storyline.
Yeah.
So what you didn't like, I thought was another amazing point to the movie. Mm-hmm. You didn't like how complex it was, but like, this was just his first movie, so they gave us so much information of the backstory, the history. They introduced so many characters, I feel like, and still made it seem like it wasn't an origin story. Like, that's what I love about it.
That's true.
They explained his origin without making it an origin story, and they changed some things from a different perspective, like his parents. I was like, yo, we have to see his parents die one more time.
I thought they were going to show it, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, please don't show this. We've seen it so many times.
It's the Uncle Ben story.
Yeah, but they showed it from a different perspective that we haven't seen before. And to me, that made it a lot more interesting.
I can see why you like it.
It was about the Riddler, but we know the Penguin, so it's like, who's really the main villain of this story?
That's why I also ranked it lower. That point right there, because like it was just, my mind was all over the place, and I couldn't focus on one thing. So I mean, but that's how, people have different opinions and people are different. I'm glad you brought that up.
It was a little like, I was like, okay, who is who? Who's the snitch?
Exactly.
But I mean, it kept me guessing. It kept me on my toes. For me,
I remember my next con, Robert Pattinson. I didn't like how his voice. I wanted his voice a little bit deeper. I'm not gonna lie.
You're nitpicking, but I agree.
That's not nitpicking.
That's nitpicking.
That when I'm thinking about Batman, I'm thinking of, you can't really.
This isn't a car.
Not even just that. Like, his voice, it should be.
I did notice.
You know what I mean?
His voice was kind of the same.
That's one thing.
His Batman voice and his regular voice was kind of the same.
Right.
I feel like they separated him from the other Batmans too, because I was really curious to see what gadgets he had, how they were going to differentiate from what we've already seen. So
I don't think they showed much gadgets, did they?
Not too many, but it was different. The Batmobile was different.
That was hard.
Even though that scene was great to me.
The contacts.
The contacts was different.
And the glider that he has when he jumps off the building.
Yeah, it was one more thing that he had that I was gonna say.
Was it where he injected himself?
The bat venom.
Oh, that's what
say it like that.
The bat venom.
It made him like his adrenaline.
Yeah.
It pushed him like he was concussed and he was hurt.
Even when he screamed, I was like, it felt like when Wolverine goes into berserker mode.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
There was something else he had that was different. I can't think of what it was.
What I did like, another thing, was, the grappling hook? He used it as weapons a lot in the movie.
Yeah, he did.
Like, he just shot it into them, like in their leg or something. Yeah. I did like that.
My cons are super nitpicky. There's not too much I didn't like about the movie. I didn't, and this is nitpicking. This isn't like, you know, a big factor for me, but I felt like Catwoman they dumbed her down a little bit. She was typically like, she was a one-up on Batman. And in this one, it was the other way around. So it was like, she was more below him. But, you know, as we know her in the show and the comics, she always was 2 steps ahead of Batman. You know, when Batman couldn't find or solve something, she was like, oh, it's that. But
right.
in this movie, she relied on him a little bit too much, I felt like.
And that's why I said I feel like her character went a little bit downhill the second half of the movie.
Even for him, it was kind of easy for him to track her, like where she lived. I was like, damn, man, we never knew anything about Catwoman in the show.
Yeah,
she was a whole mystery, but yet she knew everything about him.
So in her defense, you could tell that she's new at this. Yeah, she hasn't donned this character for a long time. Clearly, because she has a beanie on her head.
Right, it's a fucking a ski mask that she cut up.
Yeah, she has a leather suit and a ski mask. So it's like
I was laughing at that.
I think she hasn't really fully
adapted to
the full potential of Catwoman. And we'll probably see her as a better Catwoman in the next movie. Yeah, I'm sure she's coming back.
She's definitely coming back.
My second gripe is kind of nitpicky too, but it was some of the voices. Oh, the Penguin. I felt like he was a little bit too soft.
Yeah,
he was like a doormat for everybody.
That's another thing that I was going to mention. I felt like they should have buffed
like,
Penguin,
like a Kingpin.
And at the end, they made it seem like he was going for the power grab, so he might be a key villain in the next one because he was looking over like, I'm about to take all this over now. But I'm like, man, you're not even that scary.
Right?
Like, he didn't scare me, but he provided a good relief in the movie. But I don't feel like Penguin has ever been an intimidating villain.
I feel like he was kind of intimidating in was it Michael Keaton? The Michael Keaton one?
When Danny DeVito played him?
Yeah. I feel like it was a little intimidating then.
He looked like a pillow. He looked scary, but
yeah, he was never a major villain. But
he's kind of like the drug lord that is causing Batman trouble.
I will piggyback off of what RJ said. Like, I feel like when Gordon and Batman, they were talking and they were trying to figure out the riddle from the Riddler, and Penguin was standing right there and he was listening to everything. They made his ass actual walk like a penguin.
Oh yeah, that was.
I
like that Easter egg.
That was a good Easter egg.
Yeah.
I do love that. But I feel like they were trying to make like you said, like a doormat. Like they were trying to make it more of a joke or like if anything. They didn't really do much with the Penguin.
So who do you guys think that was the Joker? Who the hell was that guy?
Oh my gosh, you're right. At the end, talking to the Riddler.
I really don't want to say it was the Joker because that's the easy answer.
I'm not tired of the Joker, but I want other villains other than the Joker.
Right.
I think.
But who else could it be though?
We're not done having our Heath Ledger fix.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And his face looked kind of deformed.
I'm ready for other villains. Like
So the director did say in an interview I saw before the movie that they asked him who would he want to be the villain in the sequel, and he said he really wants Mr. Freeze.
Okay.
I'll be down with that.
I'll be down with it too.
For sure.
It seems like he really doesn't want to go the Joker route. He wants to explore things that we haven't really seen.
And I feel like that's what's going to draw the audience in. But this is what drew me in. The Riddler, the Penguin. I'm glad we got different villains.
Yeah,
it was different. I feel like Mr. Freeze is an exciting villain. So I'll be down for that.
That kind of not scares me, but it's like I feel like that's a lot of CGI.
With the ice. Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be completely different from what we just saw.
That's the problem with these movies is that Batman is he's a superhero, but he doesn't have superpowers. No one in this world, well, they do have superpowers, but his villains don't have superpowers either. They're kind of just like a deformed, crazy, lunatic type character. Where as Bane, I don't know, did he have powers or he's just like...
I think he was just like chemically...
Well, Joker, Penguin, Riddler, none of these guys have powers.
Right.
They're just crazy people. And so Mr. Freeze, I don't know what story route they would go, but it would be kind of out of place if they made him some type of big suit with shoots ice. You know what I mean?
Ice gun.
They would have to, it'd be hard for them to fit it in the story and make it seem realistic.
Yeah.
But I'm interested.
I also think I mean, it's only been one movie, but he kind of seemed like he might be the smartest Batman that we've seen. Like, he was super obsessive.
I'll agree with that.
All the notes he took, rewatching film of everything, I was like, this guy's smart. Christian Bale was amazing, but he was kind of like punch first, ask questions later. This guy was like doing some real critical thinking.
He was being a real good detective.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Another good thing is I read that they're trying to go forward and push a Penguin HBO series.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
So
I'd watch that.
I mean, if it comes out, we're gonna watch it. So that could be interesting.
And the fighting was good. It was like I said, he got his ass whooped a couple times. Like, he took some hits. That's also what I liked, just seeing his struggles. I didn't want him to come out as Batman and already know everything.
One of the issues that I have with every Batman movie,
it should have been rated off.
Every Batman movie, you see this motherfucker in the dark and people are shooting at him, and he's just whooping their ass.
Yeah.
And
that
I'm
was
like,
repetitive.
I can't see shit. How
I
the
like
hell
that,
can
though.
he see shit? I know he's fighting in the dark. Like, I'd be like,
Yeah.
One thing I also did like when he went into his cave, it was legitimately a bat cave. There were so many bats. I don't think we've seen
I love that.
so many. I don't even think we've seen bats other than maybe like an animated series.
That was such a small moment that I loved.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, there's actual bats in this cave. And his cave wasn't in like some random New York rock. Like, it was deep in the city.
Yeah, for sure.
That was pretty cool too.
So I think my number one favorite thing about this movie is that it actually felt like a DC movie. That's my favorite part.
And Alfred was good. Alfred was like,
I love Alfred.
getting dirty with him, like solving the riddles.
Yeah.
He wasn't just like, oh, you need some sleep, go to the meetings. Like, Alfred was like helping him solve, like an actual sidekick.
And I'd love to see what Alfred, like, this Alfred is younger than the Alfreds that we've had for a while.
Oh, for
This
sure,
Alfred
yeah.
looks like he could probably fight if it came down to it.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see Alfred fight alongside, maybe defending the home or some shit like that. I would
like a
love to
last
see-
stand type of thing.
Yeah, I'd love to see Alfred fight.
For sure.
And you just see him whooping people's asses like, God damn, Alfred, what's going on?
Right?
Yeah, I think Robert Pattinson was amazing cast for Batman. Like, there was nothing bad I could say about him.
One thing that I like is you can watch this movie, go back, and I can probably 100% guarantee you Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne Batman did not smile once in the whole movie.
Oh my. I think you're right. He did.
He just had a straight poker face the entire movie.
And that motherfucker doesn't sleep.
Well, that goes back to my point. He was literally obsessed like no other Batman that we've ever seen. Yeah. Christian Bale was going to the events, partying, smiling, mingling.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't give a fuck about none of this shit.
With all this women.
I need to find out who the Riddler is.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that's what I loved about him, is he took it serious. Like, it was literally his life.
Yeah.
Yes. All the other Batman that we've seen, Bruce Wayne is this guy who
he's still the playboy.
The playboy, exactly. He's like
He's like, nah, I don't want
he's
that.
He's the DC version of Iron Man.
Yeah.
Where he's like this big, famous, rich guy. But here, he was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to meet with these people. I'm not worried about why would you set up this meeting with
He said it was like, I'm prepared. I'm ready to die for this.
Yeah.
Like, yo, no other Batman would say that.
One last thing that I will say is that this is going back to my 6.57 score range. If somebody gave me a choice to watch The Batman on TV or The Dark Knight, I'm choosing The Dark Knight. I like that simplicity. It was the Joker that he was going after. That was that. This movie, it was so complex. It was this. So,
but you're comparing it to a classic.
Wait, I will say that The Dark Knight has more replay value for me than this movie. What were we saying?
You're comparing it to a classic, though. The Dark Knight is a classic.
I'm only comparing it to The Dark Knight because it was the last Batman movie we've seen.
I wouldn't completely say that. I think
I
think The Dark Knight is obviously way better because, I mean, one classic scene that I remember is with the introduction of Joker. Where I don't want to talk about that movie as much, but the introduction of Joker when he comes in and he smashes the dude's head into a pencil. And he's like, ta-da! Made it disappear. I was like, yo, this movie, just that scene alone
You're comparing it to a classic, though. You're not comparing it to Ben Affleck. You're comparing it to the best of the best and saying that means that it falls somewhere higher.
The only reason why I'm comparing it to that movie is because it's the last Batman movie we've seen. If it was a different movie, I wouldn't even mention The Dark Knight. What you mean what I mean? Do you see why I'm comparing the two? I'm comparing it to because that's the last Batman saga we've seen.
I get it.
Okay.
I mean...
Well, yeah, that's what my point was, that it's it probably is the second best Batman movie.
What is?
This one.
The Batman?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, everything before Christian Bale is very cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
George Clooney, that
Michael
movie
Keaton.
was very cartoony. Michael Keaton, it was very cartoony. And there was nothing wrong with that. Back in the day, that's
what we liked. That's what we enjoyed.
Was fun.
Mm-hmm.
These movies weren't as story plot driven
mm-hmm.
as they are now. So I will say that the Dark Knight is better, but I do think this movie has replayability. I would want to watch it again.
Mm-hmm. My final thoughts for the movie are I'm definitely going to see it again this weekend.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Another thing, since we're on that, because it's related to that, it didn't feel like it was 3 hours.
No,
I think the beginning felt like it.
Yeah.
Because I think we were trying to get on with the story, but then when we got into the midst of the story, it didn't feel like I sat there for 3 hours. Like I would have had to use the bathroom, and I didn't have to use the bathroom, and I drank normally, if not more than what I normally do.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like, all right, this movie, hurry up and finish it. I'm thinking maybe you could have took maybe 15, 20 minutes out of the movie, but again, it goes back to this movie stayed on plot. It stayed on topic. So it's long, so I don't think I would rewatch it in theaters. I think I would wait to watch it again when it comes out, on HBO Max or something.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this movie gave me a lot of excitement and hope for the future of DC because coming off of Peacemaker, which was phenomenal. Now we got this movie, which was great. It's like DC is finally, I don't want to say finally, but it seems like they figured it out. They're on the right tracks. They're just kind of finding their rhythm. It was before Peacemaker. Suicide Squad was okay.
Suicide Squad, Aquaman.
See, DC is confusing because it's a new Batman, yet it's the old Flash, the old Aquaman, kinda. So, I mean, it just made me excited because I think Robert Pattinson can be Batman for the next 10 years.
Okay, that was my next question to you. Do you want to see Robert Pattinson going forward in the future?
I want him to be Batman for the next 10 to 12 years, however long.
Gotcha.
I think so for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why not.
I wouldn't mind it.
I think this was his, if this was his first Batman movie, then I think we should expect him to only improve in the next one and continue. I don't see why we would see a worse Batman character than what we already did. Than what we've seen.
All right.
You want a different Batman?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm fine with him.
Oh, okay.
Wait, so you still sticking with your 6.5?
Now that we've listed the pros and the cons and what we like, what we didn't like, let's go with our scores again. I think I'm gonna butt mine up just very, very little and say 8.9. I said 8.8, so I'll butt mine up 0.1.
All right. I'm definitely gonna bring up my score. After the whole discussion, I'm going to bring it up to a 7.
Okay.
It was 6.5 before.
That 6 was disrespectful.
That's 6.5. It was 6.5 before, and I'm bringing it up to a 7.
I'm sticking with mine, 9.2. That's it first?
Yeah.
Okay. 9.2, and I'm sticking with it.
All right.
That's crazy.
Thank you guys for listening and watching our review to The Batman. If you guys enjoyed us having our initial reaction right after the movie and doing a review in the car, let us know in the comments. Give us a thumbs up. Just let us know what you think. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys for the next one.